A hero who fought in countless battles and wars eventually managed to save his world. However, he was ultimately betrayed by those who got jealous of his power. In his final moments, he prayed to the goddess that he would be reborn into a world where he wouldn't have the responsibilities that burdened him here, and she fulfills his wish by reincarnating him as a filthy rich son of a duke. In the castle, Alan is woken up by his younger brother who can barely stand the sight of him. He tells Alan that their father has summoned him to the throne room to have a discussion with him. And as they walk there, he casually calls him a complete lowlife and waste of space that even garbage collectors wouldn't want to touch. In the throne room, the Duke addresses Alan and tells him that although he was born into the ducal house 15 years ago, he has done absolutely nothing of value with his time. He has not increased his level, he hasn't raised any of his stats, and worst of all, during the gift ceremony where God bestows a gift upon the people, Alan received nothing at all. Even commoners always get gifts, so the fact that Alan managed to frick that up is amazing. Getting straight to the point, the king tells Alan, "You're a bum, you're useless, and I never want to see your ugly face anywhere near my castle again." With that, Alan has been excommunicated from the ducal family, but as he stands outside the gates of a castle he once called home, he doesn't seem all too bothered by the fact that he got kicked out. If anything, he is happy to no longer be associated with such an awful duke. So with his newfound freedom to do whatever he wants, he's going to seek out the peaceful life he has always wanted. For starters, he intends to head to the eastern border of Westfell, where no one will be able to recognize him. After walking for a long time, Alan thinks he is probably far enough away from Westfell to start a new life for himself. But as he was standing atop a hill, he noticed that there was someone in trouble over in the distance. This female knight is being attacked by a pack of rock wolves, but every time she tries slashing them, they just break apart and reform themselves once more. The knight Beatrice gets attacked again, so she tells Lies to run away while she still can because she won't be able to hold the dogs back much longer. Lies doesn't want to leave her faithful guard behind, but Beatrice tells her that her life is the most important thing here right now, so she needs to survive so she can fulfill her duty. Alan recognizes Lise as the Princess of Stella, but he has no idea what she's doing all the way out here. They had met earlier at a party while all the nobility were having fun making fun of Alan for being so useless, and she was the only one who stood up for him. He had wanted to avoid using his powers from his previous life in front of other people, but since Beatrice has been defeated, Liz is about to be killed. She's been on his side since day one, and he can't just let a true friend like her die, so he breaks his own rules and begins using his true power to cross the distance between them. As Liz is staring straight into the jaws of death, strangely, the only thing she can think about is Alan. Alan stops the dog from attacking her, and she can't believe he's actually here. But for now, Alan wants to focus on getting rid of these wild dogs instead of explaining the circumstances that brought him here. He leaps into the air and uses his divine eyes to scan the clay wolves, discovering that they have cores inside them. He summons hundreds of swords to get rid of them all at once. Liz was so mesmerized by Alan's display that she forgot that her friend is currently missing a chunk of her stomach, but once she finally snaps back to reality, she pleads with Beatrice to try to hold on a little, but she knows there's no surviving a wound like this, so she apologizes to Lise for being such a failure of a knight. Alan then walks up and recognizes Beatrice on the ground dying, so since he would prefer if she didn't die, he kneels down to begin healing her. After casting his spell, her lost abdomen grows back, and the two are left both thankful and shocked by the feat Alan just pulled off. They ask what kind of power he just used, but he doesn't want to explain that he was a hero in his past life, so they assume he must have a gift that the church is not aware of yet. Alan plays along with their assumption, but with that aside, Liz is the first princess. So what is she doing all the way out in the borderlands like this? She explains that she had been given a prophecy, and although it wasn't very specific, it led them to believe that they could prevent a great misfortune if they follow it. Now that they've explained why they are here, they ask Alan what reason he has for being out in the borderlands as well, but he dodges the question and says they should get moving since it's not safe to be out in the open like this. They don't understand how he expects them to leave when their wagon is broken. That's not a problem for him since he just casts healing magic on the wagon to repair it. Once they are on the road, Alan explains everything that happened to him to Lise, and she's horrified to learn that his family kicked him out. They later arrive at the village of Plume, but it seems to be oddly quiet, so Lise is worried that they may have been attacked by monsters. Alan doesn't think that's the case though, as he doesn't sense a single monster in the area. And now that they think about it, since he joined them, they haven't been attacked by a single monster on their journey. They notice some villagers all gathered around a man's building, so they go over to see what's going on, but it seems like they were all just waiting to see this person get thrown out. This is the person Lisa's prophecy had spoken of, but although she remembers Akira well, Akira has no idea who the princess is. She is upset that she was forgotten so easily when she took the time to show Akira around the castle and shared meals with her. Alan asks how the two know each other, so it is explained to him that there is a gift of this world that only appears once every generation called Braver, and whoever holds that gift is said to possess the power of 1,000 soldiers and is called a hero. Akira is the current hero of this world, so the prophecy must have been talking about coming here to save her. Akira is hungry, so they all go to a tavern to get some food, and she begins explaining what happened. She was wandering through the forest when she came across a little girl in the forest. She said she was almost given as a sacrifice to the dragon that had settled in the mountains, so Akira came to ask the village chief what the hell he was thinking. The chief didn't want Akira getting involved, so Lise asks if the dragon might be threatening the villagers and forcing them to offer sacrifices to it. Alan doesn't think that's the case though, since they are likely offering sacrifices to it for its protection. That would explain why there is an abnormal lack of monsters present in the area, since they are being scared away by the presence of the dragon. They ask what happened to the girl, so Akira explains that she had her hide away in an abandoned mine all by herself because she didn't want to bring her back to this village that sacrificed her before things were sorted out. She intends to slay that dragon no matter what, so the girl no longer needs to be sacrificed, even if it means the village will no longer be protected and will probably be destroyed later on. Lise says she wants to help take down the dragon as well, and since she is going, Alan decides to go as well since he doesn't want to let his friends experience the danger alone. They later arrive at the base of the mountain where Akira sits down to discuss a game plan for their attack. She will go in from the front, while the others circle around back to catch the dragon off guard. Lise asks if Akira is really alright with taking the front all by herself, but she is sure she can handle it. Alan thinks it would probably be better for him to take the front, and Akira knows he's right, but she wants her chance to look cool, and she knows if Alan attacks first, he'll likely just defeat the dragon in one shot. She can tell that Alan is no ordinary person, and quite frankly, she would like to fight him if they had met under different circumstances, but defeating the dragon comes first for now. She heads up the mountain by herself, leaving Alan and the others to circle around the back, and as they climb, Lise talks about how weird it is that Westfeld failed to notice that a dragon had made its way into their borders. On top of that, they've always been pretty aggressive when it comes to exterminating monsters, so there should be no way that they missed this. Alan thinks it's possible they already know about the dragon, since even if this place is in the middle of nowhere, it's pretty hard to ignore a dragon showing up. Therefore, Alan believes that his former family must have a reason for letting that dragon act on its own, and it is even possible that they built the village of Clume for the sole purpose of offering sacrifices to the dragon. He begins speculating on what kind of deal they could have made with the dragon, but they suddenly see a pillar of fire in the sky, signifying that Akira has begun fighting the dragon. She dodges a couple of fire blasts sent her way before countering with a lightning spell, but once the dust has settled, the dragon is still standing there completely unharmed. The dragon mocks her for having such a weak attacks, so Akira takes that as a challenge and decides that she will go all out from now on. The dragon asks if she is really okay with that, since if she does go all out, then the girl she was so intent on protecting will get caught up in the battle as well. Akira doesn't understand why the girl is here when she was meant to be hidden out in the mines, but the dragon reveals that he had let the girl escape in the first place. He doesn't enjoy the taste of human meat, but rather because he enjoys seeing the hope fade from the sacrifice's eyes as they face imminent death. He lives for such a long time that it was either do this or get a Netflix subscription, and he finds torturing people to be more entertaining. Akira is enraged after hearing that this is all a game to the dragon, so she attacks it with her finishing strike. However, the strike seems to have done no damage once again, and asks if that was truly all she had. It bitch slaps her away with its tail and commends her for at least being slightly entertaining to him. He flies up and is about to incinerate Akira, who can do nothing to defend herself, but in that moment, Alan arrives and slashes the dragon's wing off. He tells the others to get Akira and the girl to safety, and as the dragon charges at him once again, he delivers a slash which leaves it shocked. It is a red dragon king, so there should be no way a lowly human should be able to hurt him, but this is no ordinary human. The dragon gets the picture here, so as the fight begins, he starts running away. Alan chases after him, so the dragon takes the girls hostage to prevent Alan from attacking at full power anymore. He looks over to Lise, but she nods, telling him that it's fine for him to attack regardless, so Alan uses his final flash attack and charges at the dragon before thrusting his sword into its body and blowing it up. The dragon is broken up into thousands of pieces, so the girl is now safe and no more sacrifices will need to be offered anymore. Alan had intended to live his life without getting involved in any problems this time, but maybe it's not so bad so long as he is fighting for his friends. A while later, Alan wakes up from a nap to see Lise waiting for him. He apologizes for falling asleep since he had only intended to rest for a little bit, but she says it's fine since he must be tired from the battle with the dragon. He asks how the others are doing, so Lace directs his attention to Beatrice and Akira, who are currently having a little fight. Lace gets Alan's attention and apologizes for keeping a secret from him. After the dragon was defeated, she healed Akira, which could only mean she is the Saintess. Alan had heard rumors of the Saintess traveling and healing those in need, but he never thought it was Lee's all along. However, it doesn't matter to him because it literally makes no difference to their relationship whatsoever. Later, the group is about to head their separate ways because Akira gets motion sickness from riding in carriages and she prefers to wander wherever her mood takes her. In other words, she's homeless. She decides she will take care of the child that was almost sacrificed, since it's not like the village will be willing to take her back. She also apologizes to Alan for him having to destroy his sword during the fight against the dragon. Akira and the little girl head off in an unspecified direction, while the others prepare to head to the nearest village. Back at the Westfeld mansion, we find out that Alan's father was actually behind this whole thing. He had planned to lure the hero Akira to that village and have her be defeated by the dragon, but he never would have thought that she would be able to actually defeat the dragon. He is informed that the Saintess was present for the battle as well, so he assumes that she must have been the deciding factor in the battle with the dragon, even though in reality she didn't do a damn thing to help. Alan's brother is angry that the clay wolves he had sent after Liz didn't manage to kill her, but he has a better plan for his next attack. He will send out even more wolves. His father tells him to calm down because since the dragon has been killed, in terms of money, they have no money. They can't afford to go wasting any more materials on more assassination plots. The son doesn't want to simply let the hero and Saintess live, but as long as they remain in the kingdom, they'll have their chance to kill them at some point. He also asks his informant if he has found the location of the elf he's meant to kill, but the informant hasn't accomplished his mission, so he just disconnects to avoid explaining himself. Meanwhile, Alan and Lise are on their way to see one of Lisa's friends who happens to be a blacksmith. She also happens to be an elf, but I'm sure that's just a coincidence. They want to ask her to make a new sword for Alan since he destroyed his own in the last battle. After traveling for a bit, they set up camp for the night and are all sitting around the campfire, but Lise gets really sleepy and lays down on Alan's lap. Alan doesn't mind, but once Lise wakes up, she starts getting all embarrassed about it and says she doesn't want to be too close to Alan. And it may be important to mention that these two are currently engaged anyway, so Beatrice is having a hard time watching Lise fumble her relationship with the tsundere act. However, she later ends up resting on Alan's shoulder anyway. The next morning, they head over to the village of Granholm, and it's pretty lively considering that this is the middle of nowhere. They continue walking until they arrive at the house of Lisa's friend, but something is off. Noelle almost never stops forging swords, but right now there's no sound coming from the house. They commit a little breaking and entering in order to make sure that Noelle is alright, but once inside, Lise finds Noelle passed out on the floor, and she immediately starts crying over her friend instead of attempting to heal her since she is a saintess after all. Beatrice does the sensible thing and checks to see if she is still alive, discovering that Noelle is just unconscious at the moment. Lise finally remembers that she's got healing powers and uses them on Noelle to help her recover. Noelle is so dedicated to the craft of sword making that she forgets to eat, drink, or sleep once she gets going, which is probably how she ended up like this. She soon regains consciousness and finds the group in her home, but she doesn't mind since she's friends with Lise. Lise asks her to make a sword for Alan, but Noelle immediately refuses. She's got orders backed up for weeks, so she can't just give priority to Alan even if it's a request from a friend. Besides, it looks like he's already got a sword on him. However, Alan points out that his sword is current broken. Noelle takes a look at the sword, so she is suddenly motivated to see what Alan could do with the sword made by her. She plans to make one that is even greater than the divine sword that the hero uses, but to do that, she needs to get to work immediately, so she kicks everyone out of her house. As they return to the village, they are spotted by a spy who reports to the informant that she has found the Saintess. However, he doesn't recognize Alan despite him having lived in the Westfeld Manor for at least 15 years. In town, Alan doesn't really know what to do with all the free time he has on his hands, so Beatrice suggests that he could head over to the Adventurers Guild to trade in some of the parts he got from the dragon. It's sure to fetch a large sum of money, which would be helpful considering Alan is broke. At the guild, he tells the receptionist that he would like to trade some dragon scales, but the items are so rare that she has to go confirm with the guild master before completing the trade. In the time she is gone, Alan gets approached by the informant and spy who introduce themselves as Horace and Miley, who ask him some questions about how he defeated a dragon. Alan says he couldn't have done it on his own as if he didn't single-handedly kill it, and they both take his word for it, disappearing without a trace. The next day, they return to Noelle's house to see if she's done with the sword, but they find her passed out again on the ground. After healing her, she tells them that she's done with the sword and she wants to go test it out with Alan. So they head into the woods together, but only after she's fully recovered at the insistence of Leaves. As she and Alan are walking into the woods, Alan asks why she needs to come with him since he could have tested the sword by himself, but she really wants to see him use it so she can optimize it to best suit his capabilities. Alan asks why she's a blacksmith in the first place since it's a job more suited to dwarves, prompting Noelle to tell him the story of how she had been saved by a dwarf woman named Vanessa long ago. They had their differences, but she ultimately grew to love her as her own sister. But that's as much as she is willing to share with him on the topic. As they continue walking, they end up running into Horace and Miley again, who are keeping tabs on them. However, despite having a bad feeling about them, Noelle decides to let it go. They head deep into the woods where Alan defeats a couple of monsters using the sword, and upon inspecting it with her gift of analysis afterwards, Noelle can tell that Alan used the sword flawlessly because there isn't a single scratch on it. She still wants to test it some more, so she asks Alan to come deeper into the forest where there will be stronger monsters. However, they get more than a bargain for when they end up coming across a great wolf in the forest, the same one who apparently killed Vanessa, so Noelle asks Alan to use the sword she made to kill that thing. This was the end of episode 2. Thanks for watching, subscribe to not miss the next part.